Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL strategy show. Single lineup Sims edition. First one of the week, man. Get excited. Week 16, 11 game slate. Here's what's cool. You got Thursday night football. You got a doubleheader on Saturday. Looking forward to that. I have a couple buddies who used to be my neighbors. They lived to the left and right of me. Great friends of mine. They're going to come hang and watch the game on Saturday. So that'll be fun. Little Birds action against the Washington Commanders. And then you got a 11-game Sunday slate on the main. You got Sunday night. You got Monday night. So just a full spread of football this week, man. I wish every week was set up like this.
Yeah, although that would also mean no bye weeks. That's at least one of the reasons they're able to do this because of all the teams playing.
Why
but yeah, it's also
no bye weeks?
Well, just to get like this many games on the Sunday slate and to have the 2 Saturday games and have the
chop
Thursday
2 games off the Sunday slate. Who cares?
Oh, yeah. I would be cool with that for sure. I'd be cool with that. And then also I brought this up before, but also split the games up. Half the games in the 1 p.m. slot, half the games on the 4 p.m. slot.
I'd be okay with that too. Plus, that would make for some awesome just overall DFS. Like if you like say in these 12 and 13 game slates, I don't think anyone would. I'm not saying nobody, but I wouldn't have a problem with a 6-6 or a 7-5 or something like that. You know, a 7-6 slate. I won't say that number the opposite way for those of you cretins in chat. But glad to have you guys with us. Good morning. Let's have some fun today. If you don't mind, take a single second this fine morning. Hit that thumbs up. Atone for your sins. Subscribe to the channel, too. Leave a comment down below if you're watching or listening after the fact. And for those of you guys in podcast form, let me fix this camera real quick. I know something. I don't know what happened with the podcast not uploading, but that has been remedied. We got your messages, heard them loud and clear, and those should all be going up as normal for those. And I know there's a lot of you who listen in podcast form. So hopefully that is good to go. Keith Jackson, the NBA is much better at that. Not last week, man. Those are terrible. I know it's the whole cups. By the way, I'm going to ask you as someone, and I want an honest answer. Don't give me some, sugar-coated bullshit here, Greg. I want an honest answer, okay? Not because you like basketball, not because – and if the answer is yes, I'm more than happy to hear it. And I want an answer from you guys in chat too. Do people actually care about these in-season cup finals?
Oh, yeah, because the games are really good. The games are really good. The teams play them. The teams play playoff rotations. So the games are more competitive because of the players care, the teams care. So teams are playing starters like 40 minutes like they would in a playoff game, and the games are really good. Yeah. Okay.
JoJo says, yeah, good games, man.
All right. I mean, that's really all it comes down to. The games are really good.
And genuinely, I didn't know the answer to that. I think there's probably a lot of people that like it. I wonder if the ratings are decent on these games. That's what I'd be interested in seeing.
It's so hard to know too, because the NBA is so segregated where everything goes. Like you could only watch the finals on Amazon Prime last night. And then you had like certain games are only on Peacock now. It's so spread out. You have to have all these different services to watch everything. That's actually one of the reasons why I'm sure a lot of you guys saw this in chat right now, but probably not everybody. But we used to do shows over on Playback. Playback shut down last week. Largely the reason why was because of the NBA's new TV deal, where it wasn't possible for them to be able to get all these games on their platform because they had the deal with NBA. So that's why if you guys were ever watching games with us on Playback, you had to have NBA League Pass. But they had that agreement with the NBA. But now when there's games on Peacock, there's games on Prime, they're all over the place. They didn't have agreements with all those other different networks. And then as a result, there was just going to be a bunch of nights and days of the week where Playback wasn't usable. So to your question about the ratings, I have to assume this is terrible for ratings the way it's all segregated. They just get paid so much money that what difference does it make?
No, and the only reason I asked it is not because I'm not saying it's like they're trying harder or that it's good basketball, but in the end, it doesn't actually mean anything. Like it's still meaningless. You could say that, there's more money involved in this and that, but like nothing outside of the finals actually matters. And I know, the Knicks hoisted their first trophy in 5 decades, which, yeah, sure. But at the end of the year, if the New York Knicks are unceremoniously swept out of the playoffs in the first round, you're not going to hear a single New York Knicks fan be like, yeah, but you see who got that NBA Cup earlier in December? Not a single person's going to care about that. And that's why I have my suspicions. That's why I'm skeptical.
Yeah, I mean, that part's well and good. Like I said, to me, it's mainly I like the quality of the games. The other thing, too, that I think is pretty cool, you mentioned the prize money, which for the star players doesn't really hold a ton of weight because, all right, cool. LeBron makes an extra $500,000 at the Lakers when he's a billionaire. What difference does it make to him individually?
Now, right?
But
he doesn't even know where that goes.
The story from the first year of the NBA Cup, which was 2 years ago, that Damian Lillard told, really was actually the first. I was kind of like on the fence about the NBA Cup. It was just whatever, just more games to me. I was unopinionated one way or the other. But Damian Lillard, a couple of years ago, somebody asked, why do you care about the prize money? And he said, not for me, but he said, there's guys on the end of the bench who are on two-way contracts. They're only going to be in the league for 1 year. They might only be in the league for a couple of months. He said, if I play well, these guys are my friends. We're in the locker room together. He said, I have a chance to change their life by getting them extra $500,000 when they're otherwise only going to earn $20,000, $30,000, something like that in the NBA. And if players are playing really hard for that reason, I think it's pretty cool.
That's a brilliant answer. It's a brilliant answer and a great reason to do it. So I'm with you. Anyway, let's get into it. 11 games, great. Like, this is why, by the way, having these Saturday games is nice. So we don't have to do another 13 gamer, right? Like I think it's nice in spots like this where you can break it up a little bit, and then on Christmas, we're going to have 3 games on Christmas. So, which is a Thursday, by the way. So you'll have those 3 Christmas games. Then we'll break the slates up a little more, but we're going to use the Sims. We're going to build some lineups here. There's one spot that I want to try out first, and most people are going to feel uncomfortable with this. There's not a single soul that I would blame either, but we got to do it. And I want to try a JJ McCarthy with Justin Jefferson. Jefferson has been unbelievably bad, and I don't think there's many people out there who would be blaming him for his lack of production. He still needs 170 yards to break 1,000. Right? They got it. If they don't get him there, man, that's insane. And I know, who cares about individual stats? Well, you should. Like, he's your cornerstone player. You should help him get there in a season where you've already been eliminated from the playoffs. You should. Now, I'm not saying they will. I'm not saying that's what they're going to do. But they're going up against the New York Giants. I mean, it's a New York Giants team that they're bad, man. They're a bad team. They just got walked over last game, walked over by the Washington Commanders in that spot at home, where you had Marcus Mariota and company put up 29 points against them. I think we try it. I think we got to try it here. It's super cheap. McCarthy's sub 5K. Jefferson is 6K. Very good possibility that Jefferson just sucks. But I looked at ownership, and right now we've got him coming in at 8%. If he gets steamed throughout the week, I will totally retract this position, and I won't want any Jefferson if he's 20+%. But at 8% against the Giants at 6K, maybe the cheapest he's been since his first couple games as a rookie. Yeah, I'm willing to dabble there. I'm willing to roll the dice.
Yep, I don't have any issue with that either. McCarthy, for what it's worth, is coming off an okay game. He wasn't great, wasn't terrible, had a good matchup against the Cowboys, and came through. Had a good fantasy game for the showdown slate. But yeah, just in terms of this being, a buy low spot, when are you going to get Justin Jefferson ever again at 6K against the Giants? I guess maybe next year if JJ McCarthy's his quarterback again and doesn't improve. Yeah. But this is a very favorable price point.
Yeah, Jefferson, for all we know, Jefferson's 5,600 next week. It's true, but I still like this spot. I mean, you're getting the two of them now for 10-9. Do we want to double stack it? I don't know. I don't really think we have to. What's really interesting, though, is, and Ben and I actually experimented on the First Look show yesterday. We didn't have any data, so we don't know how these are going to sim out. We actually played this lineup, Greg, and added Devon Achane, Bijan Robinson, and Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, all three of them, we don't have to, and I'm not really confident that it would sim out well. I think getting to 2 of these guys would sim out better than getting to 3, but it's actually doable, which seems insane.
Well, now I'm curious and just want to plug it in. What does that give
Try
us? $3,200 left for 2 wide receiver spots, a tight end, and a defense. So I guess we'll plug in a really cheap defense.
Play the Titans defense. Play the Titans D.
Okay.
I don't know I don't know how they grade out, but I think they're going to be a good play.
Let's see.
They're right there. They're up top. They're the number 1.
Oh, I missed it. Okay. Yeah, never mind. All right. So we got them at 2,500, which, yeah, I mean, they're going up against the Chiefs, but it's Gardner Minshew at quarterback, which could go in many different directions. So, yeah, them at $2,500. Don't have an issue with that. That gives us $3,500 left for tight end and 2 wide receiver spots.
So if you want in a game where this team is going to have to throw, Darnell Washington is $2,600.
He's 2,600. Evan Ingram is 2,900 as well. I think either of those, not that I'd look at them as like the best plays in the world or anything like that, but relative to their salaries where we need to change, where we need to save some money, I think Ingram or Washington are viable to go to. I'll plug in Washington just because he's cheaper.
Yeah, or you could go with 3K Hawkinson if you wanted to double stack. So either of them are fine with me. Like if you wanted to just pay up $400 more to Hawkinson and get the second attachment to McCarthy, I'm not opposed to it. Now here's the question. Do we go like Adonai Mitchell here at 4,500 and then find the $3,500 receiver? Where's the best value at wide receiver right now?
I think the answer with what we have 4K left for 2 wide receiver spots. Mechie is 4K and Mooney is 4K, and they both project okay for us.
Definitely do it. Yeah, I'm all about that. And for what it's worth, neither of us are saying that this is the optimal build. I don't think it is. I think it makes more sense, in my opinion, to get to 2 of those running backs than the 3. But I do like getting to 2 of those top 3 running backs. And so not great, not bad. One thing I wanted to mention to you, though, is because the Thursday night game is Rams and Seattle, there's no Puka, there's no Devontae Adams, who probably won't play anyway, and there's no Jackson Smith and Jigba, and thank God there's no Kenneth Walker, but that's besides the point. There's no, 3 of those guys are not there. God, he just killed me. Rashee Rice has no more Patrick Mahomes. Just if you take a look at the top of the wide receiver position, there's no AJ Brown, who's been very good lately. He's not on the slate. So, it definitely trims down the wide receiver position where, yes, you still have Jamar Chase against Miami. Good weather there, assuming there's no rain. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown coming off a monster game. But then, Nico against the Raiders. Still, though, this is pretty weak for how great the high end of wide receiver has been this year.
Yeah, totally agree with that. That's why also we're seeing Jamar Chase right now is right around 30% owned. And if more value opens up on the slate, you could see him getting to 40% just because of a lack of other pay up options at wide receiver. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's also going to be in play, just not nearly as good of an option on paper as what Jamar Chase is taking on the Dolphins this weekend. So looking at the top end receivers, this is going to filter the ownership, I think, pretty heavily towards Chase. And then there are some other guys down here who you just listed off that I think are very high ceiling plays, but also come with different risks. Like Nico Collins playing against the Raiders. He's been way more involved in the offense lately, Nico Collins, than he was to start the year. But this game has a lot of blowout risk. And we saw last week the Texans play in a blowout, and Nico Collins only got targeted 4 times. He made the most of those targets, got 3 of them for 85 yards and 2 touchdowns. A great fantasy game for him. But the blowout brings some potential risk to the table. CeeDee Lamb, tough matchup against the Chargers. And then you got Rashee Rice, good matchup from against the Titans, but what is Gardner Minshew at quarterback going to mean for him? So you can make a case for all 3 of these guys. It's just a really wide range of outcomes to me.
Super wide range. And Vintage says, Chiefs lack of run game, no Hollywood. Kelsey can't get separation. I feel like they could still feed Rice in the short game. Oh, me too. No doubt about it. The question just becomes, is $7,400? I mean, this guy was $7,400 with Mahomes, essentially. So is the price point viable in a game with a 37.5 point total? Very, very low total in this game. Hey, real quick, before we go to the next lineup, did that lineup save?
No, because I cleared it to look at the wide receivers.
Damn. All right, just do this real quick. Put in McCarthy and Jefferson.
Want to try to build one that's not just all of the top end running backs with them?
Exactly. What I want to do is put two of them in. So Gibbs and Achane.
Okay, we can do Gibbs and Achane.
And then Titans D. And then let's optimize it on, say, 10% randomness.
Let's do it.
To see what the Sims would give us in this situation. And for those of you listening in podcasts or you have your phone in your pocket,
right,
it's
so
McCarthy.
We got...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so McCarthy, Gibbs, Achane, those were players who we put in. And then what the optimizer gave us here, Tet McMillan, we put in Jefferson, Mechie. So Mechie we had plugged in before. Harold Fannin, Kyle Pitts, Titans defense.
All right, so Harold Fannin, Mechie. I love the McMillan spot this week, by the way. I like him for a bounce back. Kyle Pitts. So that sims out better. Not insane, but still pretty decent. Double tight end. I will be honest with you. I'm very surprised to see that we're getting to a 5K Kyle Pitts.
He projects so well. He projects so well for the slate as of right now. You know,
and Arizona's defense. That defense is just dreadful.
Do we have Drake London projected in or out right now? Let me check. So we currently have London out. So that's something that's influencing the Kyle Pitts projection. Also, if we get a slate where Kyle Pitts is like 30% owned, he's uber.
Yeah, I'm just not doing
what
it.
An opportunity for him to let everybody down one more time. Because it's been a minute since there's been real true Kyle Pitts hype.
Yep. I also, Raheem Morris said that he's very hopeful London will be back.
It's hard to know if that what the consequences of that are. Like, yeah, I get he's hopeful that he's going to be back, but it's like hopeful versus very hopeful. Does that mean he's more or less likely to play? The Falcon season is essentially over and has been for a minute, so maybe we'll see. I'm still 50-50 on whether London plays or not this week.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's hard to say, but right now it doesn't matter as much. If London ends up playing, Pitts at that price point is, in my opinion, virtually unplayable. Actually, I'd consider him in stacks, in Atlanta stacks with Kirk Cousins, just given how bad Atlanta's defense is. I'd probably consider it, but Adrian, why play London? No reason for it. I'll tell you why, man. Because these teams don't look at players and seasons the same way that we do or that we think they should. Like you still have a fan base. You still have, good players that are getting paid money. I get it. It's like, all right, just sit him. What's the point? This isn't the last game of the season. They still have 3 games to go. If he's good enough to play, they're not going to sit him. It doesn't make sense. So if he's okay, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't play Drake London this week. Also, you could get him to 1,000 yards on the year if that's something they care about. I would think, you're going to get there. Keith, of course, he wants to play. Well, yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying, dude. Most of these guys are lobbying behind the scenes to play. That's what they're doing. Einsteinium, would you consider a Steelers stack against this Lions secondary? I'll be honest, Greg. I don't think I would. Maybe that's short-sighted. I'd get to some Metcalf. I'd get to some Washington. I just don't know if I really want to stack them. because even if you do get it right in the sense that they throw for a bunch of touchdowns, like there's Jonnu Smith, there's Pat Freiermuth, there's Darnell Washington, there's DK Metcalf. Like Rodgers threw a touchdown to MVS last game. If you go and look at the routes run data and the targets for this Pittsburgh team, trying to figure this out, with a 40-plus-year-old quarterback to boot, to me, it's just I would much rather pick and choose individual spots than try and get all of the pieces right on a stack on an 11-game slate.
Rodgers has done a good job as a game manager this year, but he's not creating real fantasy upside.
No.
He's won 250-yard passing game the entire season.
Right.
Just one. There's no rushing upside there.
He won 300. Did you say 300?
No, 250.
Oh, he only has one above 250?
Yeah, there's just not a lot of upside. There's just not a lot of upside there. Obviously, there's
no
no
rushing
upside either. His rush. Do you know what his rushing yard prop was for last game?
Probably, half a yard.
-0.5.
Oh, on a kneel. Well, wait. Pregame?
Yeah, it was -0.5.
So just essentially, will he kneel down or not?
Yes.
That's what it was. Like, will he have the kneel down? And
he has a total of 26 rushing yards the entire season. So he's got no rushing upside. They don't even use him for, rightfully so, because I don't want him. He's got a broken wrist. They don't want him to get hurt any further. So they don't even use him for the tush push. They've been running like Connor Hayward when they're trying to gain short yardage. So there's no rushing touchdown upside for him. There's no rushing yardage upside for him. There's no passing yardage upside for him either. What you're hoping for is a game like what he had against the Bengals or something like that, where it's like, hey, he just throws for a bunch of touchdowns, but limited yards. So yeah, he's 250 plus yards once the entire season.
Yep. And then, someone else made a good point too. It might not be the point that they were trying to make, but Gainwell in the tight end with Rodgers from Timothy. Well, that's the other thing. Gainwell had 7 targets. So now are we stacking Gainwell? Or are you stacking DK? Are you stacking any of the tight ends? I don't know, man. I'd rather just not do that. Gainwell's 5,100, which is encouraging, but I'll say this much. I do think, and this was something I had talked about previously going into Monday, that there is a possibility that Jaylen Warren just would have gotten more work if he wasn't ill, if he wasn't sick.
Yeah.
Like, he was a legitimate questionable coming into that game, and he looked fine, but fine is, I guess, relative. He wasn't productive in that game. Gainwell was far more productive. I would be less confident going into a game like this where, you are a full week removed from whatever you were dealing with.
Yeah, and it wasn't just that he was questionable with an illness. He was a midday downgrade, which means he wasn't even sick in advance. He was probably sick that exact day, which it's hard to know how that impacted the workload, but I do think it did to some extent. But the Steelers stack's just not for me today, to answer your question there, Einsteinium.
Contrarian Librarian, Gainwell is a must. Okay. I don't see it. A
lot of good running backs.
A lot. If we're saying he's a must, and that you just love the fact that he's super cheap and he's been pretty good, I get that. And that you're probably going to be trailing, your 7-point road dogs inside of a dome. Yeah, I get all of that. But Jaylen Warren, trying to figure it out between the two of those, that offense in general is kind of tough. But I do like saying Gainwell's a must if you're stacking Pitt. Yeah, look, if you're stacking Pitt, I do think he's a perfectly reasonable attachment. I just probably don't want to. Timothy, big point total, Laffy. They have to come from somewhere. Play the golf attack and run him back. Okay. That's fine. I'd probably still rather have Metcalf, personally. Who do you want to go with next?
All right. So let me, I'll go a little bit less crazy here. And I am going to go with, well, I guess maybe to some people this is a little bit crazy, but Joe Burrow. I brought him up a few times on this show over the last few weeks, and it's gone poorly pretty much every single time. But you've got Joe Burrow now 7% owned, still $6,500 and taking on the Dolphins. The Dolphins who are, I think Tua still ends up starting this weekend, although they're at least contemplating benching him. I think this is a good spot for Joe Burrow to get right against the Dolphins. And after that abysmal performance against the Ravens last week, I don't think people are going to be dying to play Joe Burrow. We know people are going to want to play Jamar Chase. So here's a decent way to play Jamar Chase and probably have it a little bit lesser owned of a lineup by pairing with Burrow.
All right. Common Pennies, too, had a question that's pretty much a pretty timely one. Is anyone
look
worried
at that. Quinn Ewers is starting a quarterback for the Dolphins.
Did that just drop?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, looking this up right here. Yep, from Rappaport. Tua benched Quinn Ewers, your new starting quarterback for the Dolphins.
Let's see. The books did not pull this game, and the total has not moved.
It might happen in like a minute or so, though.
Usually they're pretty damn quick. I mean, truthfully, Tua's been so bad that I'm not sure how big of a difference it makes. I really don't know how much of a difference it makes.
They just took it down.
Who did?
FanDuel.
DraftKings still has it up.
Yeah, they'll take it down. But yeah, FanDuel just took it down. DraftKings will too. FanDuel is usually a little bit faster than DraftKings.
It just moved to 3 from 2.5. Still moving.
Yeah.
This is moving so fast. I mean, sure, it makes a difference, but I'm not sure. I really don't know how big of a difference it makes. I genuinely don't at this point. So we'll see. But the question, Common Pennies, is anyone worried about Burrow not showing up because of whatever he's dealing with lately? Do you have any concerns there, or are you just going to ride this one out?
So we got some reports on what it is he's dealing with. He's healthy. He's just very frustrated. The team sucks and he wants to win. If anything, I would be more concerned if he was checked out. If the concern is he's really frustrated they're not winning, not that concerned.
I'll still play him. Yeah. I don't have a problem with it. You know, he sucked last week and they got shut out, but that was a desperate Ravens team, right? For sure, a desperate Ravens team. And this is a Miami Dolphins defense. You're talking a good weather game. It was very cold in Cincinnati. Now, when you're going into Miami now, where the temperature is going to be 80 degrees and partly cloudy. So you've got 80-degree temperatures. And despite how bad they were last week, Jamar Chase still had 10 for 132. The guy was still, I mean, how many receivers had more fantasy points than him last week? Probably just Puka Nacua and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Maybe Jameson Williams too. Jameson Williams had a big game as well. But yeah, he did. But there weren't that many. He was still one of the best, one of the highest performing wide receivers. Of course, Trey McBride, if you count the tight end position. I still love the Chase play here, and I'll stack him with Burrow. I'm not opposed to it. I'm with you here.
Yeah, and I'll check. Let's see the fantasy point totals.
Bengals minus 4.5 now. This game still hasn't come off. It moved 2 points in the past 2 minutes.
Yeah, I do think it matters a little bit.
Don't get me wrong. You're talking about a 7th round rookie, or a rookie or second-year player. That's a big difference from Tua, as bad as Tua Tagovailoa has been. I'm not denying that at all, right? For sure. What I want to know is, how does it impact Devon Achane?
Have to like him less now.
I think I do, unfortunately. And you know why else I like him less? Not even because it's not Tua, but also, yes, because it's not Tua. But is this a sign that Mike McDaniel is waving the white flag and they're going to give Jalen Wright more work? You know, is that the possibility here, that Jalen Wright just starts getting worked in more? I think that's very possible. I would consider looking at some Jalen Wright props going into this week. even Jalen Wright anytime touchdown scorer props, especially if Ollie Gordon misses, which I think is likely going to be the case. Right now, I would say that you should be downgrading Devon Achane for two separate reasons. One, Tua can still get him the ball in the passing game, really can. And two, again, does this mean that guys like Jalen Wright just get more work? And I think you'd agree with me on that. It's concerning.
Yeah, so it's also, the timing is very notable because what happened last week? The Dolphins got eliminated from the playoffs officially. They weren't likely to make the playoffs, but as long as they're live to make the playoffs, teams are going to try to do it. So what happens? They
Apparently not, because that was the worst play calling and clock management I've ever seen in my life. I mean,
it was very tilting for me because I had a same game parlay that it won with the exception of one leg, which was under 42.5 points in the game. It finished at 43 because the game was over and the Dolphins were just like, hey, we're still going to try to score against a prevent defense for no reason. I should have won that bet. I didn't. It was annoying, whatever. But that game also eliminates the Dolphins from the playoffs. And now I think they're at a point where they're like, what happened this year clearly did not work. There's going to be some turnover on the team next year. And as a result, they're trying to evaluate of the guys we have to know who we actually want to be a part of the future. And that's why it makes sense to evaluate Quinn Ewers now, because for Tua, kind of seems like he's going to be a career backup at this point for the rest of his career. What is Quinn Ewers? He was a 7th round pick. He's probably going to be no good, but you let him play. You try to figure out what you have here. To your question, I think the same thing goes in the backfield for the Dolphins trying to figure out who is our RB2 behind Achane next year. Is it Jalen Wright or is it Ollie Gordon? Because they've been giving both of them opportunities. It was more so Gordon earlier in the year. It's been a little bit more of Jalen Wright as of late. But now I think we're at a point where they're probably going to a little bit cut back on the workload of Achane and try to figure out what they want to do with the backup running back spot for next year.
Yeah, or do they like Jalen Wright enough to where they could get a haul for Devon Achane? Who knows? There was a lot of trade talk about Devon Achane coming into the deadline this year. Nothing transpired, but well, you know, the truth is, man, it sounds like a team would never do that. But if there's another team that's willing to give away the farm for a guy like Achane, and you can bolster your defense, and you can load up on picks, it's really not crazy. Like, I think everybody has a price. There isn't a player out there, obviously, like, sure, a star quarterback, right? Of course, right? Because that is the cornerstone. That is your franchise. And that is how but I don't think there's anyone out there that doesn't have a price tag to some extent.
Yeah, for sure. I guess I just don't know how much a running back is getting traded for. Like, Christian McCaffrey didn't even get a first-round pick.
Dude, I tell you, I think the pendulum's swinging back on the position a little bit, and it's weird. Look, am I saying that they go out, they get 2 firsts for him? No, of course not. But Devon Achane, I think he's a pretty special player, and it wouldn't surprise me if they wanted to see more Jalen Wright, whose touchdown prop is plus 270. So I will pass on that one this week. Devon Achane's minus 210. I'm assuming those are all going to be in flux. But all right, so what do we want to do here? Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase.
All right, so Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. Just out of curiosity, I did look up the fantasy point scores. You were pretty much completely correct on who outscored him. There was one player who we forgot about there, because I didn't even realize how many fantasy points he scored.
Let me take a guess then.
Okay, go ahead.
Was it someone you wouldn't expect?
You wouldn't expect him, but it's a marquee player, but it's not somebody you would have expected.
Was it Sutton?
Yep, Cortland Sutton. 7
Sutton
catches,
nice
113 yards, and a touchdown last week.
Yeah.
Good guess.
Thanks. I scrolled the names on DraftKings and I was like, it's got to be one of these. So it's not fully just a guess, but yeah. All right. Sutton had a nice game. I like him again this week, but can you go? You probably can't be forcing 2 quality running backs in, 2 top tier backs, and still make a decent lineup. Woody Marks, though, interesting. I don't love him at 6,600. The truth is, man, this Vegas team really is still a pass funnel defense. Like, Hurts only threw 15 times last week, but he averaged like 12 yards per attempt. He had 3 passing touchdowns. And if you look at Tank Bigsby and Saquon Barkley, those guys averaged like a combined 3 yards per attempt. So I don't know. I mean, Woody Marks is hurt all the time. I think I'd probably, if you're looking down further, there's not a lot down here, truthfully. I think Devin Neal, if he plays, actually looks pretty good. Maybe Aaron Jones against the Giants looks okay. The running back position looks awesome up top. I don't love it in total. I really don't.
I have a little bit of interest in Michael Carter as a pay down option with the injury to Bam Knight. But once again, don't love him. I'm just saying he's somebody who's in play at a $5,400 price tag. But look, you sort our running backs by points per dollar projections. Number 1 is Jahmyr Gibbs. 2 is Bijan Robinson. 3 is Quinshon Judkins. 4 is RJ Harvey. 5 is Devon Achane. But that projection is about to come down. So our top projected running backs, you've got 2 really expensive guys, then 2 guys in the mid-range in Judkins and Harvey. And I don't love the matchups for Judkins or Harvey, especially when you consider that Judkins has a matchup against the Bills. The Browns offense is just a sieve. Like they just don't do anything. And they're I think that game is, I mean, the Bills have been super random this year, but the Bills should just destroy the Browns in this game. And then RJ Harvey, yeah, he's played better as of late. I just don't like the matchup against the Jaguars.
Michael Carter might be the answer here.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have an issue plugging him in at 5,400.
He last week, 80% of snaps in that game, right? You're talking about 18 total touches, 14 carries in a game that once again they were getting blown out. 4 targets, 4 receptions. You're talking about like Bam Knight now, who is placed on the injury reserve. He's done for the year. They decided not to bring Trey Benson back. So Emari DeMarcado is the only other guy available. And despite that, he had 1 rushing attempt and 3 targets last game. So that's an 18-3-4 split in opportunities for Michael Carter. You have a much more forgiving matchup against Atlanta this week. I actually like him quite a bit. Timothy mentioned him in chat. I'm with you, Timothy. I think that is probably the guy. And then Grizzor, sorry. How do we feel about Brissett? Sorry, or Brisket. I was late if you already talked about it. We didn't. I did talk about him yesterday with Ben, though, Greg. So I haven't gotten your thoughts on this yet. This is going to sound crazy, but I actually worry more about Jacoby Brissett in a game like this than I would in all of his other starts. And if you look at the matchups that the Arizona Cardinals have had, they have had an absolutely brutal schedule. In Houston, at home against the Rams, Tampa Bay in Tampa, the Jags, who are clearly proving to be a very quality team, the 49ers, the Seattle Seahawks, the Cowboys, that's the 1 win, Green Bay, and the Indianapolis Colts. That is an insanely difficult schedule. Absolutely brutal schedule for Jacoby Brissett. The one thing that he has in common almost between one thing that all of those games, almost all of them have in common, is that he was playing from behind in almost every single one of those games. He was still good against Dallas and they played with a lead. But there is a part of me that wonders, if you're not in 40+ pass attempt mode and you don't have to, does Brissett become less appealing to us?
He's a garbage time hero. He's not actually playing well when the games are close. We talked about this last week or 2 weeks ago, maybe, when it came to Brissett. They go down by 30 points and he becomes the best quarterback in the league because the Cardinals are running up to the line. They're playing a team in prevent defense. He's just picking up easy yards and touchdowns in garbage time.
He's Blake Bortles.
They've lost 4 of their last 6 games by 20+ points, and he's just killing it from a fantasy perspective. This is the dumbest thing ever. They fall behind, and I don't know if he's cognizant of his stats, if the team is, or if it's just Rich Gannon with this mindset of, hey, we're never going to give up in these games, but they're just getting their asses kicked by good teams. And then he faces prevent defense, just goes wild in the later stages of the 3rd and 4th quarter of these games. So I really don't put a ton of stock into what he's doing in terms of his actual real life success. The only thing that I'm pulling away from this that I do believe, I think Michael Wilson's really good. But I'm not sold on Jacoby Brissett individually. There's other quarterbacks I'd rather roster. I'm good with Michael Wilson, though.
Yeah, honestly, the only reason I'd say that Jacoby Brissett, some of the concern is mitigated, is that this guy, they refused to price him up. He was 58 and 57. He's back down to 5,300. So that's the one advantage you have, is that they don't have a very good ground attack, and he's still 5,300. So you're still dealing with a cheap quarterback. Now, the other thing, though, is that Michael Wilson is now 6,900 and Trey McBride is 7,600. It wasn't more than, 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago? I can't remember which one it was, where Brissett, it was, I guess, week 11. So 5 weeks ago, where Marvin Harrison was out and Michael Wilson was $3,800 in that game and Trey McBride was 63. So think about that. You had a $3,800 Wilson, a $6,300 McBride, and Jacoby Brissett was $4,900. Now, Brissett's only $5,300, but Wilson's $3,100 more expensive than he was, and Trey McBride is $1,300 more. So you're talking about, $4,400, $4,500 difference in a stack. And those are really the only two guys that you'd want to stack here anyway.
Yeah. So for me, when it comes to Jacoby Brissett, I'm not going to say he's unplayable, but he is expected to be very popular right now. We have him projected for, I think, the most ownership of any quarterback on the slate. Yeah, we do him as the most popular quarterback. If this was to hold, I would be underweight to him as the most popular quarterback on the slate. He's playable. I just don't like him quite as much as what the field does. One more question, too, that I want to get to real quick before we finish out this lineup. We get a super chat here from Dustin. He wants to know, can you explain us in general how to use uniques? So also I'm in the middle of recording new tutorial videos for all the tools on the site for NFL and NBA, especially because we just added a bunch of features. So the way you use uniques, it's pretty simple. You just set the number of uniques you want right above the lineup selection, and then you just select the amount of lineups that you're going to play. And the way this works is, let's say that you have 3 uniques selected. It means for each lineup that you select, it has to have at least 3 players that are different from any previous lineups that were favorited. So what it's going to do is it'll smooth out your exposures a little bit, and it's going to make it so that there's a little bit more diversity in your lineups. It's something I really, really like using for small slates and showdowns. It works, obviously, to use for main slates as well. But often I find that for main slates, my ownership and exposures are pretty diversified anyway.
Yeah, for main slates, it's a little different. But I still like to diversify a little bit if I'm getting way too much of one specific quarterback. I think it's a good way to use uniques in a spot like that. But George, when did Wilson catch the most of his passes? Everyone does the bulk of their damage on this team in the fourth quarter, but maybe their offense is just good this week. That's also entirely possible. We had another question too. And someone just tweeted me too about this similarly, saying we have to consider Quinn Ewers this week at 4K, right? This is Justin. What's up, Justin? Talking about at 4K against Cincinnati. Man, I get the logic, but I don't know. I don't know if you actually have to do that in this matchup, even though it's a very good matchup. And one of the reasons is, would you rather have Quinn Ewers at 4K or Brissett at 53 or Cousins at 4,800, right? Or potentially Tyrod Taylor at 4,700? Would you rather have Quinn Ewers over Gardner Minshew, who's $4,500? The question is not whether his price point is cheap, because it is. Are the other guys not, like, to me, some of these other guys in these ranges in good spots are just not expensive enough for me to go to Quinn Ewers this week. At least right where I'm at right now. I haven't really thought deep into it, but that's my first thought.
I guess I want to see. I'm so unopinionated on Quinn Ewers as a player. I want to see what some of the props look like. I can't draw. I don't know if you have any kind of.
Yeah, he's not good.
Yeah, I tend to think he's not good, but I'm curious to see what the props look like.
No, listen, this is well, I'll ask you this. You don't have to know, you don't have to have like intricate knowledge of his college game or anything like that. How often do you see a 7th round quarterback get thrust into the offense end of season and have a good game? I'm not going to say it's never happened before, but it's highly unlikely that that's going to happen. It's highly unlikely. So, yeah, like Quinn Ewers played 3 preseason games, 47 dropbacks, 43 attempts this year, Greg. He completed 53% of his passes, 53% of his passes in the preseason for 6 yards per attempt. Now stick him into a regular season game with like actual starters on the other side. I know that Cincinnati's defense isn't good, but I don't know. For now, you guys asked, my answer would be I'd rather go to Cousins against Arizona's defense, especially knowing that if Drake London's back, you're going to see him get peppered and probably still consider Pitts and guys like that. So, yeah, for me, probably not going to get there. If the salary floor was $3K on DraftKings, I might consider it.
Yeah. I'm going to want to see at least some, props, but yeah, I don't disagree.
Also, a comment from Tiffany Laffy. I don't know, but I saw Grandpa have a pretty good game last week. Yeah, but what was his fantasy total?
Also, let's be real. He had a pretty good game relative to expectations, and the game stayed competitive. It's not like Phillip Rivers was slinging the ball over the field. If Phillip Rivers stood at midfield and threw the ball as far as he possibly could right now, maybe 25 yards. He was not physically capable of getting the ball downfield. For what he had to work with and what the expectations were, I agree. He had a good game relative to those expectations. For the purpose of what we cover on these shows, what we're trying to do, win money in DFS, I didn't come away from that being like, boy, I can't wait to roster Phillip Rivers in DFS going forward.
No. Someone tell me what his fantasy point total was. So, yeah, I don't have it on hand, but somebody tell me what the fantasy point total for Phillip. It had to have been like, I know he threw a touchdown. What was it? 11, maybe? Maybe?
Pulling it up. I'll know in a sec. 11 feels high. Let's see. It was, 7.
With a touchdown pass.
Yeah. His final stat line, he had -5 rushing yards. He threw the interception. He had a touchdown. He had 120 passing yards. What does a ceiling game for Phillip Rivers look like right now? 150 yards and 2 touchdowns? Something
15.
Like that?
Yeah, 15. Right? 15. 2 touchdowns, about 150, 160. Yeah, 15. So I'm good. Anyway, let's finish this lineup out. Sorry, we're taking the scenic route here, but I don't know. I like to actually talk about the slate as well to see what plays we want to get.
So we've got Burrow, Carter, and Chase in this lineup. I have no interest in a run back, which is kind of where we started on this. The last thing I'd said when we're building the lineup is I think Tua is going to be the starting quarterback despite the rumors. And maybe 3 seconds after I finished that, I got the alert on my phone that Quinn Ewers was starting at quarterback for the Dolphins. That's where we left this off. But we've got 49-17 remaining. I'm going to plug in the Titans defense again. This will give us $5,400 left for a running back, 2 wide receiver spots, and a tight end spot. So let's plug in Jahmyr Gibbs. Currently projected to be super popular, but we've already got a cheap running back in Michael Carter, so we could go to a pay-up running back in the other spot at Jahmyr Gibbs, because that still gives us $4,600 left for a couple wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex spot. And we've already rostered Jamar Chase, so we don't – presumably we're not going to really be needing to pay up for another wide receiver.
Okay, let's do it. And to whoever Jeff, no, he had 1 rushing attempt for -1 in the preseason. In college, 140 attempts, -59, -59 rushing yards. Of course, rushing yards are counted different for quarterbacks, but still, no, not good. And thank you, Tiffany, for the super chat. Sorry for the detour. You guys are great. Don't worry about it. We've taken plenty of detours. Plenty. All right. So that gives us 4,600 remaining. You threw Gibbs in there. I like it. Go to tight end and just plug in. I think Harold Fannin is fine. The position's not great this week. Harold Fannin probably looks the best. They're going to have to throw the football.
Dalton Schultz looks pretty good too. Matchup against the Raiders. He's still cheap at $4,200. There's only a couple of guys CJ Stroud's throwing the football to right now. It's Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz. So I like Dalton Schultz at 4,200 too.
I'm fine with it. I just genuinely do not know how often they're going to have to throw in this game. Like they're 14.5-point favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Stroud has a 32.5 passing attempts prop. That seems really high. Like that seems incredibly high.
Yeah,
right?
Didn't have to throw the ball a lot last week, and the spread is very, very wide for this game. We could go double tight end with Fannin and with Schultz to save a little bit more salary. That would give us, let's see, that gives us $4,900 for 2 wide receiver spots.
Okay. Sorry, I'm posting that one to Tails right now.
Okay. So I'll just complete the lineup with the optimizer for the final 2 spots. Who does it plug in for us? Hey, Cortland Sutton. We got Cortland Sutton and John Mechie for the final 2 spots. So that gives us Joe Burrow, Jahmyr Gibbs, Michael Carter, Jamar Chase, Cortland Sutton, John Mechie, Harold Fannin, Dalton Schultz, Texans defense, 59.5% sim ROI for that lineup.
Okay. $59.5. Sweet. Timothy says,
yep,
because the Raiders are
59.5. So
sorry, real quick here. They're decent against the Raiders have the 4th most rushing attempts allowed against them this season because their offense is so bad. So a lot of times it doesn't even matter. I mean, Hurts threw 15 times last week, and I thought he would throw more. Threw 15 times. They had to have run the ball 40 plus times. They did, I think, 40 plus times in that game. So it's more so an indictment on their offense. And if that's the case, teams are able to run the ball and chew up clock. Anyway, go ahead, Greg.
So we built out a couple DraftKings lineups. Want to try a FanDuel lineup?
Yeah, let's do it. And of course, if you guys are not on Tails yet, make sure to go ahead and check us out. I don't say check us out in the sense that like, oh yeah, come support it. I mean, come check out everything that we have going on over here because you're going to love it. Like we've got probably, I don't think there's a better place if you like betting, if you like DFS content too. I don't think there's a better place to come right now for all of this. You know, come in, you can find bets, first of all. Like, all right, here, Ben just posted one 11 minutes ago, right? I think he's doing pretty solid on these Ben bets of the day. You got Delaware today. You want to bet this? Click tail, find the best odds, click whatever book, it'll auto load it into your bet slip. And even better, let me go into the Explore page. There's probably a lot of people in here that I'm not following that we can find that have parlays. Here's the leaderboard. Skilo Green. This guy's just been insane lately. Come and follow these guys as well. All right, so here you go. Splash bets. These guys have hit some monster parlays over the past few months. So you've got a parlay here. If you wanted to tail this, you go in. I think this is actually, yeah. So there you go. You want to tail it. Click tail parlay, and it'll add all of those directly into your bet slip. All of them. You don't have to do any work on your own. That part is amazing. And then if you go into who you're following, you go in, you can see your premium VIP subscriptions, all your free followings. And Greg, we've been posting a lot from the Stochastic account lately too. So even if you're not a premium DFS sub over on Stochastic, not a Sims user, you can get a lot of this good information 100% for free over on Tails each day when we do these data dumps into Tails as well. Nice little feature there that I'm not sure everybody knows about.
Yeah, for sure. And posting all kinds of stuff there. So what I've been doing lately is in the mornings, I'm posting bets from Portfolio EV that typically in the afternoon, I'm putting out some more fun bets and parlays. I've been doing an NBA parlay each day, and I've won 3 out of the last 4 ones I've posted. And they all had odds of, I think, plus 700 or wider. I beat news by a pretty good amount yesterday. I was pretty sure Wemby was going to be limited again yesterday. So just a sensible same game parlay with what it is that I thought the game script was going to go. I had the Knicks spread with all of Wemby unders. And a few hours after I placed the bet, we got the report. Wemby's going to be playing limited minutes again. And then all of his lines tanked, his prop lines. Like we beat them by so much. I had him 21.5 points. It closed at 19.5. I had him plus money on under 9.5 rebounds. It closed at 8.5 and juiced towards the under. Had him for 3.5 assists, and it closed at 1.5 in some spots, his assist line. So we got a ton of line value on that and one fairly sweat-free on that too.
And here's the beauty about all of that is if you have notifications on, then that would pop up, and at no point do you have to be like, oh, I missed it, right? So it's awesome, man. Download the app too. The app is free. Greg's picks, my picks, a ton of picks in there free. If there's guys you love, you can check out their VIP packages like Eric. I've mentioned Edge Zone. Those guys are insanely sharp. All of the results are 100% tracked and transparent. They have they have proprietary models. Like there's some really awesome people on this platform. Download the app and do it that way. Turn on notifications. And of course, for those of you, those who have supported us over the years and are loving the Tails app and everything else, take a second and rate and review the app if you haven't done so yet. I'll be honest, we're trying to get to 1,000 ratings in the App Store by the end of the year. And we are currently I'm going to tell you what we're at right now. You guys might actually be able to help us, even if you don't leave a review, even if you just pop in, go into the App Store and hit us with the 5-star rating. We are at $7.99. So we need 201 ratings over the remaining 2 weeks of the month of December. So any help would be huge. Appreciate you guys for that in advance. I know some of you guys will do that for us. So thanks. Tiffany, can't beat Sunday's Alafi Sunday prayer. Yeah, look, that one, we're just trying to make a lot of money, Greg. In all likelihood, it's not going to win, but the Sunday prayer is a lot of fun. So we'll have another one this week. Let's do a FanDuel lineup and see what we get out of this.
Yep. And then also we got, I just think it's funny how this came up. So we've got Grizzor in chat did leave a super chat with a with the Lofty emoji, but because it doesn't show up through our streaming platform, it just says Lofty because that's what the emoji.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't have YouTube pulled up, just StreamYard.
Yeah. If you look in YouTube, it's a picture of your face, but in StreamYard, it just says Lofty because that's how the emoji is titled.
Appreciate you, Grizzor. I forgot we had those still.
Yeah, it's been a minute since I know there's the nerd ass Greg one where it's me looking like a dork and whatnot. But yeah, there's ones for all of us. Nobody's dusted those off in like a year or so, I think.
I know. Dr. Ben, there's Dr. Ben, yeah. Right? Here he is. There he is. Good stuff. I wasn't sure if like Adam was still on there or anything.
I don't know.
Justin, now over 800. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Appreciate that. I think we got a good community around here. We'll make a little bit of a push to get us there and see what happens. You guys will help us out. All right. So a couple quarterbacks I want to talk about. Is CJ Stroud in play this week? Absolutely. I'm not saying he isn't. You can get there on efficiency. Jalen Hurts last week, Greg, he attempted 15 passes. All right. He attempted 15 passes in the game and had 23 DraftKings points because the Raiders have given up. It's over. So if we wanted to go Stroud here with Nico and Schultz, I'm actually okay with it. I do think, though, it's not going to be a volume play. It's going to be an efficiency play, and efficiency plays scare me a little bit more than volume plays. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, the upside for CJ Stroud remains unchanged. It's just the odds of him reaching that upside, it's slim because of what the game script is, but there's for sure a ceiling there. And in the event that one of these two things happen, either the Raiders keep the game a little bit closer than expected. Like if the Texans win the game by 10, it's still competitive enough that starters would still be in. They'd still be throwing the football, maybe not in the final possession of the fourth quarter. And then something else that could happen too is maybe the Texans just say, hey, fuck it. We're going to run up the score on these guys. We want to kick their asses this week.
Yeah, look, anything's possible. The Eagles pulled their starters for an entire quarter. An entire quarter.
It was at the time they did it. I had an Eagles stack that was second in the $5 on DraftKings. I was very annoyed at the time. It was a Hurts, Goddard, and AJ Brown lineup. It was one that didn't have Woody Marks in it. It was like my one live lineup, and I was looking. I was like, boy, this lineup might be doing something. And then all of a sudden, Jalen Hurts is not in the game midway through the third quarter.
Yeah, it was. Did you see how many yards Kenny Pickett threw for?
I did not.
Take a guess.
70? I don't know.
So close. 64. 64 yards. Woo. So
there was somebody who left me a super chat on Sunday when I was doing the lineup building show with a Kenny Pickett stack, and I didn't even put it in the Sims. I was just this isn't going to sim well. Just play somebody else at quarterback.
Hey, you were right about that one.
Yeah, but also if somebody would have, there's always some random core. I run the risk of ruin because there's always these random quarterbacks who have like no ownership that end up having big games, like a Shadur Sanders one day. There's going to be a time where I'm like not even going to run it. There's no point, and then that quarterback's going to score like 40 fantasy points at 0.3% ownership.
Absolutely, yeah, it's going to happen, and they're going to be like, "Oh man, you just completely shit all over it." Yeah, not great. Bowers had 6 for 28. That's terrible. Adrian, Raiders fan, wife asked, "Do you want tickets to the Raiders game in Houston?" I said they suck. I don't want to see that shit. Save your money. If they were free, I would definitely do it. Like, no doubt about it. But I don't see how you'd pay for a Raiders game right now. I just don't. If you're a Raiders fan and you wanted to go to that game in Philly, tickets are expensive. Parking is really expensive in Philly. You're all things considered. You're talking about like for two people to have a decent day with decent seats. You're talking about $1,000 afternoon just to watch your team get blanked 31-0. Yeah, I'd pass on that. Even the truest fans, the most dedicated, brutal.
Yeah, actually, I'm a little concerned. Adrian, is your wife mad at you getting you Raiders tickets? I think it's
in the doghouse.
Yeah,
you're going to the game. All right, plug Schultz in too.
All right, yeah, we can go double stack here. I don't have any interest in a run back. Stroud, Collins, Schultz, and let's see. For defenses, we've got, the Titans are 3K, so they're even cheaper relative on FanDuel than they are on DraftKings.
Okay. That looks nice. I say we just complete the lineup on 10% randomness.
We can do that for sure. Complete it, see who shows up around it. We got CJ Stroud, Nico Collins, Dalton Schultz, the Titans defense, and then the optimizer filled it in with Jahmyr Gibbs, RJ Harvey, Jacoby Myers, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Woody Marks. So we actually ended up with a triple stack here, an onslaught, which I actually don't hate that. We just need to know if Woody Marks is playing.
That's not bad at all, actually. You know what else I like? You have a little secondary stack with RJ Harvey and Jacoby Myers.
True. I didn't even realize that. That's a good shout out there. And you have really good 99.6% sim ROI, highest one of the show.
Sweet. That's a good one. I really like that. I do not mind the triple at all. Vintage, Laffy, you stoked on 3 more years of Stern or ready for him to retire? Is he doing 3 more? No, I haven't listened to Howard Stern in a long time. I don't think it's good anymore. I mean, hey, to each their own. I don't care, but no, I was big into Stern during the Artie days, Eric the Midget days. Who else was great back then? Hank the Angry Drunken Dwarf was great, but he was before. Do you remember when they did the rock and roll trivia? And do you remember the rock and roll trivia where he was so drunk that he was falling off the stool?
Well, that was I was going to say, or also I don't find these ones as entertaining with Baba Booey because he's just really good at it, but it is impressive, his knowledge.
He's good. Yeah. But Hank came in against Mark McGrath, who was the lead singer for Sugar Ray, big popular band at the time. And Mark McGrath knew everything about all of that. And Hank took him down, man. So yeah, Tiffany, the Tradio days is Tradio and Swap Shop. Hey, welcome to Tradio. The terrible radio voice, man, like this canned, awful voice. Those are the time. Yes, and of course, vintage Beat was the man. Yeah. Beetlejuice was the man, hands down. So, anyway, I it saddens me that those are no longer around, but you move on. Anyway, anything else before we get out of here?
Let me just make sure we didn't miss any questions that came in. No, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I mentioned at the top of the show, if you guys didn't hear, I'm putting together a new series of tutorial videos. It's going to go up on the site to make it really easy to find. Then they're also going to go up on the YouTube channel where they'll be. It's so hard to find that stuff in post on the YouTube channel. I'll try to make a playlist, but that stuff also is kind of hard to find on YouTube.
Yeah. And also, don't forget, the first link in the description, if you wanted to check out all the tools we have over at Stochastic, the single lineup sim that we use for today's show, the pre-contest sim, the Holy Grail. We talk every single Friday. We do a show on that. We use that to guide us all week long. And for our own lineups, that is all down there. If you wanted to try a week of core, a month of max, anything you want, all access, whatever it may be, the link's down there to everything. $60K, by the way, for Jordan this week, Sunday Night Football. The one thing I had mentioned, Greg, to Ben yesterday was when you look at some of these lineups, the reason the sims are so valuable is a lot of these lineups are something you'd never come up with by hand. Like this guy, Jordan, and he said, just took down first place for $60K using the Stochastic sims. You love it. But what's further than that is you look at this lineup, it was J.J. McCarthy and the captain spot or the MVP spot, with both kickers, Prescott, Lamb, and Jalen Naylor being the only skill player run back. Most people are not building that out by hand. The Sims is running these tens of thousands of simulations to give you the lineups that when they do well, you are going to win and you are going to chop with far fewer people. There was a point on DraftKings where I was looking at that, and there were, no joke, like 300 people in a tie for first place and then for second place. And it's like, sure, that's not bad. But you're also getting unique lineups here, and we factor dupes into this. And for the main slate, you're factoring leverage into all of this. That is where the power of these tools comes from, not just optimizing lineups for the highest projected fantasy score, because that does nobody any good whatsoever and is almost never going to win.
Oh, we got one super chat at the end here. So one final thing to plug in before we go. Let's make sure that we look at the Cly guy's lineup. Maybe his name's Kyle and he just spelled his name wrong, but the Cly guy, he wants us to plug in Bryce Young, Bijan Robinson, and Aaron Jones. Okay, no issues with this so far. And then we've got at wide receiver, Evans, Tet McMillan, Jalen Coker. I don't know how highly we have Coker projected. He was one of our higher projected value wide receivers on Sunday, low ownership. He ended up coming through. Let's see. Troy Franklin. Does he have? Okay, then Waller and McBride, double tight end. Our projection on Waller is not very high, and it's probably going to come down with Quinn Ewers starting quarterback as well. So I don't like getting to him. And then you've got the Houston Texans defense. All right, let's see what this one ends up doing. So Bryce Young to Jalen Coker, Mike Evans is a run back. Troy Franklin doesn't project all the well for us either. Yeah, negative 49.2% sim ROI. I just say for this lineup, probably gonna have to rebuild it from the top.
And the reason would be, let's see, Evans, Jones. Let me just see if I can pinpoint exactly why. So Bryce with Coker. Yeah, I mean, the fact that there's no McMillan in there and you're going Coker. Oh, no, there's both, right? Nope, there is
no, just Coker, but also like Troy Franklin only projects for 9 fantasy points for us, and he's pretty expensive. Darren Waller projects really poorly,
and he's going to project a lot. He's going to project even worse because we have him for Tua right now. Yeah, there's a lot going on there. You have a skinny stack without Tet, which I mean is okay, but that price point is not far off enough from Tedero McMillan right now. with the Mike Evans run back. You mentioned Troy Franklin, Waller. Yeah, I'd go back to the drawing board there. But thanks for the super chat. Anyway, appreciate you guys hanging out. Come find us over on Tails. Follow Greg at Ehrenberg DFS on Twitter, me at Laffy. And we'll see you back here tomorrow, NFL Strategy Show for the Showdown Live Before Lock. You got NBA Live Before Lock tonight and Deeper Dive. Josh already did the Strategy Show. Check that out if you haven't done so yet. And we'll see you here tomorrow, right here on the YouTube channel, OddsShopper Network. Bye-bye.